Hello, my name is Calvin. This is a little clip to show you who I am and some of the hobbies that I have when I'm not in school. I was born in California. I lived there for 10 years until I moved out to Virginia. I do go back to California about 4 or 5 times a year to visit my best friend coming up the next slide. One of my favorite hobbies I picked up living in California was surfing. It's just so great to go out with your friends and surf and just hang out on the beach when it's nice and warm. When I moved out to Virginia, I started to wakeboard to compensate for not being able to surf as much as I did when I lived in California. My family owns a boat, so we try to go down to the lake every other weekend during the summer. I actually had a bad accident last summer wakeboarding, tore my ACL, probably after landing one of those last pictures. Needless to say, my wakeboarding season came to an end fairly quickly last year. Once winter hits, and if we actually get snow, I love to go snowboarding. Fortunately, I get to go here in Virginia as well as in California with my friend. My mom is a flight attendant for American Airlines, which makes it so much easier for me to travel back and forth between California and Virginia. As far as sports go, I played lacrosse starting in 6th grade up until my senior year in high school. I played varsity after my freshman year as a long pole midi in high school. Lacrosse is probably my favorite sport that I've ever played. I also played football starting my freshman year in high school up until my junior year when I decided I didn't love football enough to let it consume that much of my life. When the weather warms up out here in Virginia, I love to go take the Jeep out and go off-roading. My friend, on the other hand, likes to get it stuck so I can figure out how to get it unstuck. I actually took this picture about 3 days ago, had a great time since the weather just started to warm up. Roller coaster is another one of my favorite things to do. My girlfriend and her family get season passes to Busch Gardens every year, so I try to use those as much as possible. I like a nice game of chess every once in a while, keep myself sharp. I grew up traveling and have always loved to travel with my family around the world. These are some pictures from my snowboarding trip that I took my senior year with my friends to Tremblant, Canada. We had a great time. It was pretty cold up there in the mountain, but being able to come down the mountain and head to the bar for a couple of drinks made up for all that. About 3 years ago, my family took a trip to Guatemala. It was absolutely amazing. We climbed one of the local volcanoes, played soccer with some of the kids in the village nearby, and shopped in the markets of Antigua. Like I said, I love to surf, so being at the beach out here is not as nice as California since the waves aren't as big, but it's a lot warmer out here, which makes it so much better not having to squeeze into a wetsuit every time you want to get in the water. Africa was an amazing trip that me and my family took about 3 years ago to Tanzania. We took a safari through the Ngorongoro crater and visited with my uncle and his family who lived there as missionaries for a church based here in California. For my senior trip last summer, me and my friend in California put together a week-and-a-half long backpacking trip to the Sierra Nevadas. After a long 10-mile hike up to our first stop, my friend's dog injured his leg and was unable to walk. The next morning, we constructed a stretcher to hike him 10 miles back out of the mountains. It was without a doubt the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But the trip resumed soon after, and we had a great time swimming, fishing, hanging out by the fire. It's just one of those things you'll never forget. We are planning another one this year as we speak.